Today we're going to be taking a look at the Curt fifth wheel round tube slider for the Ford Super Duty Towing Prep Package, part number C16020. More and more nowadays we're seeing trucks that have shorter than 8-foot beds on them, which comes in a problem when we go to tow with a fifth wheel, because we want our hitch to be on the forward side of our rear axle, but that ends up putting our trailer extremely close to our cab. That's where our slider is going to help out. When it comes time to make those tight turns, we can come to this vertical handle here on the side. We'll pull it out, rotate it back, and that'll allow the hitch to slide back a full 12 inches, giving us that clearance to go around the turn. And it'll lock into position so we can make that turn without fear of hitting our truck. Then whenever we need to go in a straight line again and we're ready to tow, simply pull that handle out again, rotate it again, and our hitch will slide back and lock into the towing position. Now I do want to mention that our slider is going to be a separate component from the head. While the head is going to be sold separately, our slider is going to be compatible with the E16, A16, Q16, Q20, and Q24 heads from Curt. Our slider is going to have a weight capacity of 24,000 pounds, but keep in mind you don't want to exceed the weight capacity of the head that you have. And it's always a good idea to double check your truck's owner's manual and never exceed the manufacturer's recommended weight. Now, because of the design of our slider, it's going to have that round tube as well as some rollers, which is going to make it slide very smoothly, and it's going to have a non-binding action to it, so no matter what position it's in, it's going to slide rather easily. Now, one thing Curt has done is they made it extremely easy to use our slider and safe. They put an indicator here on the end of the handle with a red stripe towards the driver's side to let us know that it's not locked in. But if we slide our slider back towards the tailgate, you see the handle will lock into position. And also over on the passenger side, we'll have a green indicator that's sticking out, letting us know that we're good to go and that it is locked in. Now this is going to be showing whether we're in the maneuvering position or the towing position, so it's an easy indication to know what's going on. Now you'll see on the bottom of our slider here, there is going to be a green sticker towards the cab. And that's going to be the towing position because we want our hitch to be as close to the cab locked in when we're towing. But if we move farther back, when it slides back, we're going to have another sticker that's going to say maneuvering, and that's going to be when we slide it back so we can go around those tight turns. Our slider is designed to be used with the Ford Factory Prep Tow Package, which is going to make it extremely easy to get in place. We're going to have 2 levers on each side, held in by a simple pin and clip here. We can remove the pin, then we can rotate our handles out towards the side of our truck, and that'll unlock those legs underneath, and then we'll be able to lift our slider out. And if we're putting our slider back in place, same thing, we're just going to drop those feet down into the pucks, and we're going to rotate our levers inward, and then we'll secure them with the pin and clip to make sure they won't open back up. Now the great thing about our slider is that when we're not towing, or if we don't plan on towing for quite a while, we can pull that slider out and put our plugs back in place, and we'll have full bed access. And as you can see with the hitch removed, we'll have full bed access, and then we just put the factory plugs back in. We don't have to worry about water or debris getting inside. As far as the setup and installation, it's going to be rather straightforward. It is rather heavy, so keep in mind you might want to grab an extra set of hands to help you put it in place. But now that we've gone over some features, let's show you how to set it up and get it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to have to assemble our slider. So we're going to want to take out the 2 end pieces as well as the handle, the spring, and the small bolt and lock nut that's going to be connecting everything together. So we'll start by taking the handle piece. It's going to have the red stripe on it and the rubber coated handle section, and we'll come to the driver's side. We're going to know it's the driver's side because closer to the cab, it's going to have the green towing position sticker, and towards the back it'll say maneuvering with our latches on the outside. There's going to be a hole on the side here that our handle's going to fit through. So we're feed our handle through so it comes out in the middle. So we're going to take our spring and slide it over that center section of the handle here. And then we'll take the other piece of the handle, and it is labeled, and we'll notice there's gonna be a hole. We're gonna wanna slide that over the spring and push the spring in until those two holes line up. And once we have that lined up, we're gonna take our bolt and we're gonna go through the outer section and the inner section. And once we have the bolt through, the handle shouldn't move anymore. We're going to take that lock nut on the bottom and we'll thread it on there, just getting it started. And we're going to want to grab a 10mm socket and wrench, and we're going to tighten that nut and bolt up. Now we're going to take the passenger section, we're going to lift up that handle, and we're going to feed it through the other side, going through the inside. Maybe a little bit of a challenge to get everything lined up, but it is going to be a lot easier doing it this way rather than trying to have both of them together and contend with getting that spring and everything in the middle. Once you have the bar slid into the passenger side and it's all lined up, if we come to the outside, we'll notice that we're going to have that green indicator sticking out, and we'll know that it's lined up fully and it's fully seated if we see that. So now we're going to take that cross member piece, we're going to slide it over the spring assembly. You may have to kind of wiggle the two sections around to get it lined up, but there's going to be 4 holes that'll line up with each side of our slider. And we're going to take the cap screws and we're going to line them up and just make sure that we can get them in there hand tight to start out. There'll be a total of 4 of them, 2 on each side. I'm going to come back with a 7/32 Allen bit and I'm going to tighten those screws up, but you don't want to fully tighten them right now. You just want to snug them up so that everything will be nice and secure, but we'll come back later and torque everything down. Now on the front of our slider here, we're going to have 2 holes on either side of our section. We're going to have a cross member brace that's going to line up with those holes. There's going to be one for the front as well as the back. And we're going to take the included hex nuts, and right now I'm just going to get one in each corner hand tight. That way it'll support itself and I don't have to worry about it falling down. Now these holes are slotted for slight adjustments, so we want to make sure that we line it up as best as we can. And it is going to follow the contour of the slider, so just line it up with the edges. And then now that we have one in each corner, we'll go in and put the other 2 bolts in. I'm going to come back with a 13/16 socket. I'm just going to snug up that hardware. We don't want to fully tighten it down right now, just so we don't have to worry about it moving or shifting. And now that the front is done, we'll go in and repeat that same process for the rear of our slider. With the slider assembled now, we're going to come to the end where our 2 latches are on each side, and we're going to have this linch pin here. Go ahead and take that pin out, so that way we can have the section open. So we're just going to want to swing those handles open once we have the ability to get to them. But you want to make sure you take those pins out so we can move those handles on each side. Then if we move into the bed of our truck, we're going to want to pull out the plugs that are in the 4 corner locations. We're not going to be using the center one, so we can go ahead and leave that plug in. So we'll pull all these plugs out and set them aside. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to lift our slider and we're going to walk back towards the pucks, get it close to being in as position as we can. Again, you just want to make sure those handles are out so that it can slide into the pucks. And you can double check that they're in there. And we may need to make some adjustments so that we can get our handles to lock in. Since we can't lock down the handle, we are going to have to remove the cotter pin here. So you just grab a pair of pliers. We'll bend them to where they're relatively straight, and we can slide them out. And then we're going to want to grab a 15/16 inch wrench, and we're going to either tighten that castle nut and attempt to close the handle or loosen it to see which way we need to go. And basically we want to adjust that nut until the handle will close. But you want to have a little bit of tension on there, not enough that you're fighting it, but you want to have a little bit of tension so that it latches secure whenever we close it. So let's make some fine adjustments. And once we get the handle in the proper tension, we can take our cotter pin, reinsert it into the castle nut, and bend it back open so we don't have to worry about it coming out. And we'll do that for all 4 handles until we can comfortably close it with just that little bit of tension on it. With all of our T-bolt handles adjusted properly to where we can open and close them, we're going to go ahead and get ready to install the head assembly. Now our slider can work with many different 5th wheel heads. We're going to be using the Curt Q20 today. So just to make things easy, I'm just going to slide it all the way down to where it's sitting on that center weldment section. And I'm going to take the bolts that came with the head. I'm going to take a lock washer and then a flat washer and go over 1 bolt. Now within the lowest position, these holes are going to be pretty close to being lined up. We may have to lift up just a tad. And the holes in our 5th wheel head are going to line up with a couple holes that are in the slider here. So we're going to get 1 bolt in there, just hand started. And there's going to be a total of 4 of them. We'll have another one towards the back and then the same 2 locations on the other side. But we are going to be coming from the inside, going out towards the slider. I'm going to come back with a 22mm socket and snug up those bolts. So now I'm going to come back with that 22mm socket and a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque all the bolts down to the specified amount in the instructions. And we're going to make sure we go back and torque all of our hardware, and again we'll find that specification in the instructions. You want to make sure you torque down those Allen bolts for the weldment section in the center as well. With the midsection torqued down, we can go ahead and put our head assembly in now. And just line everything up. Make sure that our pins go in the right spot. We can slide over the ring, and then we'll take the large pin coming from the back side and go all the way through, making sure that the pin goes all the way through. And then on the very back section here, it's going to have a hole, and that's where we're going to put our cotter pin at. And we'll go ahead and do that on the other side as well. With our head assembly in place, we can go ahead and put our linch pins back. I'm going to make sure that the handles are fully closed and the clip goes all the way around so they can't accidentally be opened. Whether you're using the Q20 head or another head that is compatible with our slider, the process is going to be the same. Assembling the slider, putting it in, then putting your head on and torquing everything down. And that'll finish up your look at the Curt 5th wheel round tube slider for Ford Super Duty Towing Prep Package, part number C16020.